Can't keep up with this shit. On today's episode of This Is the Reality, not the fiction that the Trump administration makes up for you, I'm not MAGA, please don't scroll. I've got a moral compass and a soul. Trump declares a ceasefire and Hegseth declares victory, and the strait is reopened. Not 24 hours later, Iran comes out and says, hold my beer. No, it's not. Your buddies Israel over there keep on bombing us. And Donald Trump says, I don't know what Netanyahu's doing. And apparently there was never any official document outlining a ceasefire. So everyone's just like, I got nothing. Sure, some ships are now traversing the strait after paying Iran in Chinese yuan, yen, won, whatever it is. A Trump Epstein toll. Let's call it that. MAGA was crying about Obama sending Iran $1.3 billion. Meanwhile, in today's reality, Iran stands to make $100 billion per month now, thanks to Donald Trump. Is this part of your 3D chess, MAGA? And make sure you keep on turning a blind eye to people like Comer in Congress that now say that Pam Bondi doesn't have to come and testify about the e-files. But y'all MAGA don't really care, do you? Protect the kids? What was that movie with the most basic of beeline actors y'all wouldn't shut up about? Something about free the kids. And the second it's your guy that is listed more than anyone else in the e-files.
Donald Trump's celebration over the Iran ceasefire has just been ruined as the White House social media just made him look like a fool. Now, as you know, Donald Trump is drooling over himself over the 2-week ceasefire between Iran and the United States. Now, Trump is claiming that Iran has agreed to completely open the Strait of Hormuz, where Iran is saying, no, we're still in control. But now we know who's telling the truth, as the White House social media shared Iran's statement that includes the following. For a period of 2 weeks, safe passage through the Strait of Hormuz will be possible via coordination with Iran's armed forces and with due consideration of technical limitations. That is not completely open, and that is the White House sharing Iran's statement. It also shares the statement that Donald Trump has agreed to use Iran's 10-point plan as the basis for negotiations. Donald Trump has gone full taco. He has agreed to let Iran control the strait and use their demands as the basis for negotiations.
So let me get this straight. Before Trump escalated anything, Iran did not have control over the Strait of Hormuz. That's one. The ability to charge the world for shipping, right? Any discussions of being paid per ship passing through the strait. Any serious conversation about keeping enrichment as part of a deal. And now, suddenly we're talking about Iran controlling the Strait of Hormuz, Iran charging up to $2 million per ship to pass, Iran keeping uranium enrichment in the negotiations, and Iran getting sanctions lifted. All inside a plan that Trump called workable. But I'm sorry, but what? You threatened to bomb them back to the Stone Age. You created a global crisis. You shut down one of the most important oil ramps on Earth. And the outcome? Iran walks out of this and into negotiations with more leverage than they had before you even touched this. Is that winning? That's literally upgrading your own opponent. And don't let anyone gaslight you here. The toll, it's real, up to $2 million per ship being discussed. Control of the strait, yeah, real, under Iranian oversight in the plan. Enrichment, still on the table, even hidden differently in versions of the proposal itself. So explain this. Explain this to me. How do you go from, we're going to destroy them, to, here's a framework where you get paid, keep leverage, and negotiate from the point of strength now? And you call that victory? That doesn't seem like victory to me. This is what happens when you confuse escalation with strategy. Because what actually happened here is very simple. He escalated, Iran raised the price, and now the world might literally have to pay to pass through a global shipping lane. That wasn't the situation before.
Okay, why did Trump back down? Anger, doubt, and people are questioning. At first, the message was strong. Threats, deadlines, warnings, and everything. American was told action was coming. But then everything changed. Suddenly, a shift happened, a ceasefire. And now, many Americans are now asking one thing: what really happened? I have clips here. I watch them. I'm gonna come back. All right.
Why? I thought you said, Donald, that opening the strait wasn't all that important. We could declare victory without reopening the strait. We don't get oil from there anyway. We don't need it. It's NATO's problem. And so why don't we revisit? Because this guy's all over the friggin' place. The strait's important. It's not important. We already won the war. We're still going to bomb them into smithereens and make them surrender. What is it? And so I came across someone who compiled a list of Donald Trump's statements on just some of the statements on the war in sort of a timeline, just to get a sense of the schizophrenic nature of Donald Trump as he has approached this war. So let's go through some of these. On March 3rd, he declared, "We won the war." On March 7th, he said, "We defeated Iran." March 9th, "We must attack Iran." Again, March 9th, "The war is ending almost completely and very beautifully." March 11, "You never like to say too early you won. We won. In the first hour, it was over." March 12, "We did win, but we haven't won completely yet." March 13th, "We won the war." March 14th, "Please help us." March 15th, "If you don't help us, I will certainly remember it." March 16th, this is when he's begging NATO, to help. March 16th, "Actually, we don't need any help at all." March 16th, "I was just testing to see who's listening to me." Again on the 16th, "If NATO doesn't help, they will suffer something very bad." The 17th, "We neither need nor want NATO's help." Again on the 17th, "I don't need congressional approval to withdraw from NATO." March 18th, "Our allies must cooperate in reopening the Strait of Hormuz." 19th, "U.S. allies need to get a grip, step up and help open the Strait of Hormuz." 20th, "NATO are cowards." 21st, "The Strait of Hormuz must be protected by the countries that use it. We don't use it. We don't need to open it." March 22nd, "This is the last time. I will give Iran 48 hours. Open the strait." The 22nd, "Iran is dead." The 23rd, we had very good and productive talks with Iran." March 24th, "We're making progress." By the way, every time they say that they're having conversations with Iran, Iran comes out and says, "We're not having conversations. You're lying." The 24th, "We're making progress." The 25th, "They gave us a present, and the present arrived today. And it was a very big present worth a tremendous amount of money. I'm not going to tell you what the present is, but it was very significant. It was a very significant prize." Of course, Iran came out and said, "We didn't give you anything, you lying buffoon." In so many words, they said that. They said that was a lie. The 26th, "Make a deal or we'll just keep blowing them away." March 27th, "We don't have to be there for NATO." March 28th, no, he didn't say anything on the 28th. 29th, he claimed talks were progressing. March 30th, quote, "Open the Strait of Hormuz immediately or face devastating consequences." 31st, he claimed a deal was very close and that Iran would, quote, "do the right thing." April 1st, "We'll see what happens very soon." April 2nd, once again, he repeated the deal was likely while warning of continued strikes if there is no deal. April 3rd, something big is going to happen. April 4th, Iran must immediately open the strait or face further consequences.
When tension between the US and Iran started rising, the tone was aggressive. Trump gave clear warnings. Deadlines were very set by the Trump. Consequences were promised. It looked like the situation was heading towards something major, right? But just before things escalated, there was a shift. Instead of full action, the US accepted a ceasefire from they asked Iran to stop that and kindly just to cease the fire. That decision caught many people off guard because it didn't match their own earlier their own earlier tone, and that is where this whole thing began. Some Americans feel like they were lied to. they wanted to expected one outcome, but got another one. Now, according to the report, this wasn't a random story. There was a real pressure building. First, military legality. Iran didn't collapse quickly like some people expected. Instead, they held their position and continued to respond. That changes strategy because a quick win becomes a long conflict. Secondly, global pressure. Oil price started rising. Market reacted. And the longer the conflict continued, the bigger the global impact became. That affects everyday people. Fuel, food, economy, and are all connected to that. Third, political pressure. Inside the US, people began to question the war. Costs, risks, and unclear outcome was made doubt. And when public support becomes uncertainty, decisions changes. So when people say Trump backed down, others say he adjusted strategy, but not everyone sees it away. It's in the same way. Some feel misled. They believe the situation was presented as stronger than it actually was. The question remains whether the threat was real or just pressure tactics. That is where the anger comes from. Not just about decision, it's about trust. Because when a leadership shifts direction, suddenly people start asking deeper questions. What was the real plan? Were we told everything, or was this just always going to happen? Right now, the situation is now fully over. It paused. So uncertain and still developing. But one thing's clear: people are now paying attention more than ever. Be blessed. I'm out.